topic. NASCAR announces the 2024 schedule. Among the changes include adding a second road course in the playoffs, a first-time trip to Iowa, and Darlington as the regular season cutoff. Bob, spot on, spot off.
Spot off. If you're going to go to Iowa, I think you need to go there and say, hey, we're going to go there for 3 years or 4 years, and not leave it like, well, is it just a holder place for Montreal or not? They're like, well, it's great. Fans have been clamoring for it. This is the right time. Well, I mean, NASCAR's owned it for 10 years. So why wasn't it 10 years ago the right time?
They bought it to save it.
Or 9 years ago or 8 years ago. So I've never been there. So I was
highly recommend.
So I'm looking forward to going. I would just hate to go there once and then say, okay, well, now we've got Montreal or somewhere in Mexico, got their national race, and they're going to leave it. If they were going to, if it's just a 1 year plan, I would have said, hey, just go to Homestead for a second race, or go instead of maybe lifting people's hopes up. As far as the playoffs, I just think making Daytona the next to last race of the regular season just takes away a lot of the drama that made that race special.
And you had a fix for that. You had a fix for
I did.
I want you to share it.
Did you like that crazy fix?
I did.
I want you to
loved
share
it.
I said, why not just have the regular season be 25 races and the regular season at Daytona, and have the first round be 4 races, and then maybe your 2 wild card races in that round don't make as big a difference.
And because listen, the only reason these races got moved around is because of the calendar. You know, I mean, the schedule itself. They didn't want to do a midweek race or a doubleheader. So then the way the calendar lays out, and this is only going to happen once every 4 years, is because of the Olympic double break there.
Are you saying NBC is going to sign back up?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm gonna assume so.
Bob, what are you hearing on that?
I have no clue.
You're lying.
Bob can't talk
that's
about
not
it. That's a rival company.
That is not a fact.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about the schedule. There's a lot to not like about the schedule. My biggest thing, obviously, we're going back to Chicago. There was some talk about that, and I think Chicago deserves the chance to have the weekend they planned on. Obviously, this year that got kind of derailed by weather and stuff. So I know people out there worked hard and they deserve to have another race. I don't like the way the playoffs lay out. I think that, I know they say they want to challenge drivers, but you're not challenging drivers at 2 plate tracks. You're testing their luck, if anything. So I don't love the way the playoffs lay out, but there's ups and downs to this whole schedule.
I do. I love Iowa. I agree with you. I want to hear you guys' opinion on this, though. Do we look dumb for not continuing to race on dirt? Do we let Marcus Smith and SMI go out there and have this experiment at one of our best racetracks and then completely abandoning the dirt idea and not actually taking it to a real dirt track? Is that what does that say about the whole dirt track thing?
Well, the question is, do you look dumb when you have windshields at a dirt track? Do you look dumb when you don't have dirt track like late model type suspension in your vehicle so that you can race it like dirt track fans are used to seeing them race? I think that's, to me, the biggest hurdle. I think if you're going to go to a dirt track,
build a dirt car.
Yes, and that may be way too expensive and way too big of a. I wouldn't be too big of a challenge. I mean, these teams could do it, but I know some people kind of enjoy watching the struggle of those cars on dirt, but I would love to be able to see them just slide and do what you can see.
I get so tired of hearing our industry say too expensive. And I don't mean that towards you, Bob. What is too expensive to Rick Hendrick? Well, how much money is he worth? How many billions?
Enough.
I mean, I get tired of us saying why are we catering to the guy that can't afford to be here so much? Why aren't these owners raising their hand going, we're spending too much money?
Wasn't the goal of the car and just the changes that they've made the goal eventually to make it more
economical
fair for all teams, right?
How's that working out?
The underdog teams.
If you listen to Action Judgmental last week, you got a lesson on that. Not working out very well.
Yeah. Well,
so I struggle with removing dirt altogether. I love, obviously, the Daytona 500. I love that weekend.
How you feel about the Clash staying in L.A.?
I hate Atlanta because it's going to be so damn cold. I mean, I've been down there and sat beside a Rick Corelli, literally dressed like an Eskimo. I've been in the infield in 1997 And I'm telling you, man, it was freezing. It was below freezing.
I mean, you have a chance of
the,
snow.
The fan
Well,
experience.
it snowed at California too.
Yeah, but
Did snow in California.
I guess anyway.
That's true.
So that's where I struggle with like the Bristol and Atlanta being so early. But hands down, the only thing that I despise about this schedule is the fact that Phoenix is still the championship race. It needs and has to move around. The NBA moves the All-Star game around for a reason. The NFL moves the Super Bowl around for a reason. Like, we've got to give our fans some diversity. We've got to give the drivers some diversity. And I hope when they look at 2025 that we do get to Canada, because I'm a big supporter of our friends to the north. I've been to Mexico City. I don't care to ever go back there to another race. But I hope we get to Montreal, and I just hope we move this freaking championship off of Phoenix. How do I feel about the Clash? Freddie has run his course. I would love to see that move around too. We've proven we can run it literally anywhere. So why don't you go build it in downtown Miami at where the Dolphins play? Why don't you go somewhere? And people say, oh, that's close to Homestead. The same crowd that goes to Homestead does not live in Miami, Florida.
No.
No chance.
No. The talking about Phoenix, ideally, I would, if you want to leave Phoenix in the championship talk, make the final round 3 races. Let them, the 3 races you have in the last 3 races of the year, just make that a championship round. Cut it to 4 by then, and let them 4 guys race it out. Because then Phoenix, I'm fine with it. If you leave the schedule as is, but make those rounds. Now you've got Homestead, Martinsville, Phoenix as your last 3 races with 4 guys competing for the championship. Obviously, Phoenix matters, but it's not the end-all, be-all, and you could go in there and then have a good race for the championship, but that's obviously never going to happen because they want the idea of the Final Four at the last place, and we see it every year. The thing I hate about Phoenix being the championship race is it just comes down to whoever wins the race off pit road on the final pit stop. That's all that. Homestead, if your car's good, we've seen it in years past. Homestead, your car's good, you can go up there and race and potentially beat the guy. Martinsville, you can move the guy out of the way if you need to. Phoenix, it's just whoever wins the race off pit road is your champion, and I don't think that should be decided that way.
But even if it's Homestead as your championship race, it shouldn't be there every year.
Because you're going to have somebody with an advantage.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want somebody to have an advantage if somebody's great at Phoenix to always be able to have an advantage, or if somebody's awful at Phoenix to be at a disadvantage. You want it to move around so that it rewards drivers who have different capabilities.
That's another reason why I think it needs to be more than a single race to decide your champion. Like, you could be, if you go to that round and you have Denny Hamlin, who's obviously phenomenal, marvelous, terrific, whatever you want to say, at Martinsville. Then you've got Kyle Larson, who's unbelievable at Homestead. And then neither one of them are really unbelievable, but they run really well at Phoenix. It just levels the playing field, I think.
How many tracks are on this schedule, Bob, that are not championship worthy?
Let's look. Let's look.
But if you literally said we're going to have a lottery.
I wouldn't have your championship at Daytona, Talladega, or Atlanta.
But if we were going to have a lottery right now, and we were going to have little balls and a big ball, and we're going to spin it around, and then we're going to pull a little ball out of the big ball. Like, what little ball doesn't deserve to be?
What characteristics a championship track have for you?
For me, racy.
Well, I
think right now, if we're obviously we're not going to just saying right now, not changing the package, nothing. The championship race needs to be at a 1.5 mile track. I don't care which one, just at a 1.5 mile track, because that's what's producing our best racing right now. If you have the fastest car, should win the race, in my opinion. Like that's maybe that's a purist in me, whatever. But if you have the fastest car, you should always have the ability to win a race. If you come out of the pits 4th at Phoenix with the fastest car, guess where you're going to finish? 4th.
You better get a really good restart.
Yeah, that's the thing that drives me crazy about that race.
You better hope Ross Chastain's running 3rd.
But it's
it should be at a track that you don't go to at all during the year.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Isn't that what made Homestead so good?
Yes.
At times, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what track is that? Looking at the product from this year.
There's nothing wrong. Homestead should be the place, but at the same point, but at the same time, you're giving an advantage to guys like Larson and Reddick, who can just get on the wall and run the wall better than anybody
Some guys
else.
are going to, no matter what track you go to, somebody's going to have an advantage because everyone's got different driving traits and characteristics, and they're all,
But I feel like if you go to Kansas is a place where the car. It's a combination of car and driver. There's nobody.
I can tell you right now, your cars are going to be stupid
Oh
fast
yeah,
at Kansas.
yeah. But I'm just saying. But that's the car. Like that's the car we got right now, and that's gonna we've seen it year in and year out. That comes and goes. Somebody has a manufacturer has a slight advantage somewhere, but that's a place where I think that there's nobody that has a distinct advantage, and you're racing for the championship, not just.
I feel like there's 2 or 3 guys that are pretty decent at Kansas. That
there's a lot of guys.
Denny's probably one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
That's probably one of his better.
But I'm
tracks,
just saying, there's
honestly.
nowhere you go and like, Denny. Like you go to Homestead, you're going to say Larson's going to kick our ass here because like Larson can just run the wall better than anybody else. Reddick's
But I
obviously
also
very
think
good
that if Reddick's in it, I want to see that battle.
yeah, for sure.